right now there's teachers out there that are trying to take away parents' ability to parent. And, and I also get concerned of backlash these days because, great, am I going to have I don't even know the name of it, CPS show up because I raised concern for my teacher?
Child Protective Services.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so,
yeah.
But we have, everybody should in every school, public, charter, private, homeschool, have high standards. And it may not meet them, but at least when you fall, you won't fall to the bottom.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, which is the parenting aspect of it, because so many public, charter, private, if it's education, the direction that education has gone through the years is becoming the parent. And it drives me crazy because I've worked in education. I'm also a parent. I want my kids to grow up with the environment that I have put them in, not what the educational system is putting them in. Because the philosophy of education has been moving more and more towards providing more than what you would consider your core educational, components. Math, reading, writing, science, those things are what the teachers need to provide because most parents aren't really qualified to provide it.
And it's not only that I don't want you parenting my children, but you're taking time away from them learning that stuff because you're talking about your own personal things. And a thing that kills me is in any of those schools I mentioned, they have a hard time or could do better in how teaching, showing them how to learn it better or spending more time getting them to get it, and this is just interference. It's so sad for the kids.
Think about the other side of it, which is in the past, there's sort of this, there's this line, this boundary line where teachers have this ethical responsibility to keep their political beliefs outside of the classroom. Even if it's a political class, it's still, you're supposed to be teaching about the different political parties, how they run, maybe a little piece about government or some historical accounts of whatever has happened, but you leave your personal stuff out of the classroom. And I'm seeing more and more personal philosophies, politics inserted into their lessons.
Like their classroom, they think that's their personal home space.
And now they're putting it on social media. And
I believe that as you go up the ladder from the teachers, that they're down with it. They just know that some have to fall for lawsuits. But I really feel that there's agendas passed down through especially the public schools. I mean, that's why there's so much, I don't know what they call it, but they teach by packet these days. Everything's already push play, and how about this? They're more administrator, or they administer the packet. And if you have questions, but I don't feel like I'm sure there are a few, but there's like teaching, like a person has their own special way to show you how we're going to go through here. It's so less personal,
Well, you bring up a good point. I've seen in many cases where teachers are getting canned curriculum that the school or the school district pays for, and they get packets. They get a pre-made course that the teacher is now just administering. Very few do I ever see teachers actually creating their own curriculum, implementing their own stuff. Now, keep in mind, for a teacher, they go through school to learn how to create curriculum, to learn how to engage their students, how to be creative, the different manipulatives that you should be able to have access to in order
as long as they're literally just trying to educate, not because that's a fine line, because you give somebody that freedom and then they're like, oh, great, now they're going to take it and fill in their own agendas. But a good teacher that wants to teach should take some of their own personal passion and direction and know that in their class, what their syllabus, is we're going to learn this, and this. Promise. We're going to go this my route. And when you go to the next, when you're ready for the next step, you're going to be ready. Trust me.
The job is supposed to be teaching these particular subject areas. Let the parents parent. There's other services that exist within a school that drive me crazy. I think, in some cases, there are some schools that have like almost like a medical clinic within the school.
Oh, sure.
And so they're providing different medical services to families or to students. In some cases, if a student goes in and gets any kind of, they used to be handing out condoms and other things within the school. And they had these rules that you as the nurse or the school, you don't need to tell the parents that the student is there getting these particular services. The other stuff that it kind of irritates me, and that's, I'm a taxpayer, so I understand that kids need to eat in order to be functional within the day. I get that. What bothers me is the school lunch programs, and I know they've existed forever, but the idea that it's no longer the responsibility of the parent to provide their child with food. Now the schools are supposed to provide it. And during the pandemic, and this was common in other areas, but we had bus drivers delivering food to students on the bus route. Okay, keep in mind, buses are gas hogs. If you are not hauling children, you shouldn't be driving the bus around. It's a waste.
Oh, for sure.
It's a complete waste.
And the maintenance on those things, man. You don't want to put any miles on there. You have to.
So
you don't have to.
So the district continues to pay the buses, even though they're not being used to transport children, pay these people to then transport food. You know that the food takes up a lot less space than those dang children. So why would you not just have some vans, some delivery vans, deliver food if, in fact, that's what you have to do? Well, we had buses, and I couldn't believe that is a complete waste of taxpayer dollars to not only employ the people to drive those buses, but then to drive the buses on the same routes that they would do for children pickup. So that's a waste to me. But the other is these kids are at home where their parents should be providing food in their home, but yet the school's now delivering to the homes.
It's like they can't stop it for some reason.
It's because they're employing people in the kitchens, and they're paying companies like
but that's
Cisco
ridiculous.
and Sodexo to then provide this food. To me, the reason you would have a school lunch program is because either the parent should be paying for the food of their child, and that is just more convenient, or of course send the child to school with food. But the child is already at home doing school where they should have food. If parents are not, if they're not feeding their kids, what do we call that? Neglect.
Right.
And parents can get in huge trouble for neglecting their children.
Parents take food, lunch, school lunch, as part of their, they budget it in, you know what I mean? Instead of, that's their go-to, I tell you, when I was a kid, I did not have lunch, and then there was no free lunch for me. I did wait around and see if there was any leftovers, once in a while, because I was hungry. I didn't have lunches. But
I just don't think that, especially in the world that we should be promoting parents participating in their child's life, in their education, in the development of their children, we should be expecting that parents do a certain job, which is provide
but there's
a roof over their house, food, and safety. These are things that are supposed to be, if you don't provide them, the state comes in and takes your children away because you've neglected them. So little red flag for me in education is this idea that education is looking through the lens of critical race theory. I'm a little concerned about it because it's not a critical race theory class. It's not a class on how to be woke and look at white people as the source of all bad things and racism. It is a lens in which you look through to then provide all of the different parts of education. And I'm a little concerned that we're starting to see that. And even you were talking about, the idea that the teacher wants to protect the children and make friends with them, protect them from the parents, remove the parental guidance, and keep the parenting in the classroom with the teacher. That is there are components of critical race theory that is a part of.
Yeah, you like, if I even wanted you to do that, like if I just wanted to say, forget it, yeah, you do it. You're going to be over here for weeks, me bothering you to see how long it's going to take for me to figure out you're not a weirdo. You know, like you wouldn't. I'm not saying that they are a weirdo, but you know, if I'm going to give up how I want to raise my kid and let you do it, man, I gotta know you. Like, you ain't touching them funny, are you? I mean, I'm like in depth. I want to know when you were 15, what were you doing? You know, I mean, like, what was your, like, you know, your dad's, you know, what was his uncle up to? You know, I'm going to be like thorough. If you think that you're going to be watching my kid, no, my wife and I've got it. In other words,
well, the idea is in critical race theory, there's this idea that the nuclear family, you know, a mother and father and a child, that's the nuclear family.
And that's a bad thing.
It doesn't need to exist. Meaning we can have families that are broken from two parents, and that's okay. And in fact, in some cases, it needs to be celebrated.
Well, you can't say it's bad because you're going to hurt the feelings of the people that are living it.
And some of it goes back to the idea that a lot of like in really like poorer neighborhoods, some of the black families, the father goes and it's mom and child, and there's a large population that fit that sort of scenario, and it's supposed to be sort of celebrated. It's empowering mom and child, and then they can do this without father in the house. So, but you know, believe it or not, that's not a black thing. That actually exists in all kinds of families. I come from a divorced family. You come from a divorced family. There are a lot of these things that happen, and it has nothing to do with race. But it's accepting that having a family without two parents is an okay thing. And by, you know, that concept being sort of celebrated, it almost takes the parenting away from the parents, and let's put it into the education system.
Yeah, because they know better.
Yeah, of course they do.
They're ran by the government.
They're the educated ones, you know. The other area, and we were talking about it in the last segment, which is the grading scale. The grading scale it's a set of standards that is equal across the board. And now the big thing is equity. And equity is not equality. It's not having the same standards for everyone. It's adjusting the standards.
It's getting out of the way so somebody else can...
Yeah, it's adjusting the standards.
Take your place.
So that people aren't in the category of low achieving or failure. So they lower the standards so that the majority of the people are passing the class or successful. I've seen people... some schools remove test taking. Our state of Oregon, Kate Brown, governor of Oregon, just removed the state testing standards. So we're gonna get rid of those because it disproportionately affects the Black and Hispanic, and she had a whole list of people that are underperforming, and which is weird. She added, I think, Asians to that, which typically are the higher performing. In fact, I think
outperforming white people.
Exactly, but she added those folks because she wanted to include, you know, minorities. Again, it's lowering standards so that these people can feel good about themselves and move through the education system without actually showing that they've been educated.
But some people, I feel, like to have the badge of, or title, and I say badge because like they could almost wear it, of victimhood.
Yeah.
And, you know, so they don't have to do so much or so. I don't know. But it's like, I don't know why people pave the path for that to happen. You know, like our governor taking the tests and stuff away. I mean, everybody knows that that's a good way to indicate your knowledge or what you what you could recall that you learned, you know, and that's a way that she just thought she knows better.
You know, the guy who's been really promoting a lot of critical race theory is, what's his name? is it Abram X Kendi? Ethan, you want to look him up? And there was an interesting video of him. He was sitting on a panel of other people, and people, I think they were interviewing him, and someone in the audience, it was Q&A time, asked him to define racism. And he used racism within the definition of racism.
I think I've seen this.
I'm wondering, I just finished reading Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, and I think she did like an excellent job of defining racism as like a system of oppression as opposed to like a personal choice. It's like, it's there, you benefit from it, or you don't. That's its purpose. You talked about the importance of defining racism, but I unless I missed it, which is possible, I didn't hear your personal definition. Is there one that you would offer us? Like, how do you define racism?
Sure. So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas.
What they're doing is they're changing the term. They're redefining what racism is, and the push is that white people are the racist ones, that they created these systems, including our educational system, to push down people of color, minorities. And so what they want to do is they want to destroy that system. And these school districts are eating it up. They send out these different email alerts saying, diversity training or how to, do whatever in your classroom. And it's getting pushed into the school systems, and people are eating it up. They're paying tons of money to these people to get this sort of training. And all it's doing is creating an environment where this ideology comes in and takes over. And now you've got these teachers who they maybe feel a little guilty because they're white, or they are an activist. And this just empowers them to do more of breaking through that ethical line and bringing it into their classroom.
Right.
And the folks that are now talking about these things in the classroom because they think that it's more important than the mathematic lesson or the history lesson. All right. Thanks for listening to the show. Appreciate that. Feel free to share it with others. We'd love to grow the audience. You can find more information about the show at nevertooserious.com. Reach out to us on our socials on Twitter and Gettr at the NTS Podcast. Find some merch on our website.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
I'm wearing a t-shirt today, in fact.
I can't wear mine today because I don't have one.
Yeah, you're still waiting on your stuff.
But it's on its way.
Yeah. All right. Until we see you next time, take care.
And be safe.